My wife said she was visiting her mother. I found her second phone. I believed her excuses for years. One forgotten phone revealed a hidden life, a long-term affair, and plans to replace me quietly. I didn't confront her right away. I waited until the truth could no longer be denied. I didn't mean to pick up the phone, but once I did, nothing in my life stayed where it belonged. It was a quiet Sunday afternoon, the kind that stretches thin and slow when the house seems to breathe with you. The clock above the stove ticked too loudly. I remember that because it annoyed me, the way small things do when you're already tired inside. I was standing in the kitchen, staring at a coffee mug I'd reheated twice and still hadn't finished, when I noticed it on the counter, a phone, face down, black case, not mine. At first, I thought it was old, a backup, something she dug out of a drawer and forgotten. But then it buzzed, soft, deliberate, not the ringtone I knew, not the vibration pattern I recognized from years of late-night alerts and shared calendars. My stomach tightened before my mind caught up. That's how it always starts, I think. The body knows before the heart is ready to admit anything. Before all of that, before the phone, before the lies, my life was ordinary in the quietest way. I'd been married to Anna for 13 years. Not the kind of marriage people post about online, but the kind that settles into routines and shared glances across the room. We lived in a modest house with creaky stairs and a back porch that caught the evening sun just right. Every Saturday morning I made eggs. Every Sunday night she folded laundry while watching reruns she'd already memorized. She used to hum when she cooked, soft, almost unconscious. I'd hear it from the hallway and feel anchored by it, like a lighthouse sound in fog. We didn't fight much. When we did, it was about practical things. Money, whose turn it was to call the plumber, why I forgot to put the trash out again, normal stuff. Her mother lived 2 towns over. Since her dad passed, Anna visited often, sometimes overnight, sometimes just for dinner. I never questioned it. Why would I? Grief rearranges priorities. I respected that. Looking back, I can pinpoint when the air began to shift, though at the time I explained it away. She started showering later at night, taking her phone into the bathroom, turning it face down on the table. When I asked how her mom was doing, her answers got shorter, less detailed. She's fine, same as always. She stopped complaining about the drive, which used to be her favorite thing to hate. I told myself I was imagining things. Marriage trains you to trust the story you're given, especially when you love the person telling it. The first real crack came 3 months before the phone. She said she was staying with her mother for the weekend, packed light, kissed me on the cheek. Her lips felt distracted, like she was already somewhere else. That night I couldn't sleep. The bed felt too big. I turned on the TV just for noise, let it run until dawn. The next morning, her sister called me by accident. She was halfway through asking if Anna had arrived safely before stopping cold. Wait, isn't she with you? I laughed it off, told her Anna must have already left her place, hung up quickly, sat on the edge of the bed for a long time staring at the carpet. I didn't call Anna. I didn't check anything. I didn't want to know. That became my pattern, sensing something was wrong, then stepping carefully around it, like a loose floorboard you don't want to test. So when I saw the second phone on the counter that Sunday, my first instinct wasn't curiosity, it was fear, real, bone-deep fear, because some part of me already understood what it might mean. The screen lit up again. Mark. I miss you already. I didn't unlock it. I didn't need to. The name alone felt like a door slamming shut somewhere in my chest. I put the phone back exactly where it was, face down, as if it could accuse me of something if I held it too long. Anna came home an hour later, carrying grocery bags, smiling too brightly. She kissed me, asked if I wanted pasta or soup for dinner. Her voice was steady. Her hands didn't shake. I watched her move around the kitchen, humming again, but it sounded practiced now, like a performance she'd rehearsed. And I realized something then, standing in my own home, listening to my wife pretend everything was fine. Whatever was on that phone wasn't a mistake. It was a life she'd built without me. I just didn't know how long she'd been living in it. For the next few days, I pretended I hadn't seen anything. That was the hardest part. Not the suspicion, not even the jealousy, but the performance. Sitting across from her at dinner, asking about her day, nodding at the right moments, watching her talk with her hands the way she always did when she was explaining something she thought was unimportant. Every smile felt like a test I was failing. The phone stayed in the kitchen drawer after that Sunday. I noticed because I began to notice everything. How often she checked the drawer when she thought I wasn't looking. How she carried her regular phone openly, but guarded it differently now, as if it were suddenly the least interesting thing she owned. At night, I lay awake listening to her breathe, slow, even, the same rhythm I'd fallen asleep to for over a decade. I wondered how someone could carry two lives in the same body without collapsing under the weight. The next time she said she was visiting her mother, she left on a Thursday, midweek, which was new. She packed a nicer coat, changed her earrings twice. When she hugged me goodbye, she held on half a second too long, then pulled away quickly, like she'd caught herself doing something dangerous. I waited until her car disappeared down the street before opening the drawer. My hands didn't shake this time. That scared me more than if they had. The phone was locked, but not well. No passcode, just a swipe. I sat at the kitchen table, the same table where we'd eaten anniversary dinners and signed mortgage papers, and opened it. The first thing I saw was the message thread with Mark. I told myself I'd stop after the first screen. I didn't. They'd been talking for years, not months, years. The messages weren't frantic or secretive. They were comfortable, intimate in the way people get when they stop trying to impress each other. There were photos, not explicit, but close. Her hand on his arm, his reflection in her sunglasses, hotel lobbies, airports, a beach I'd once suggested we visit together. I read slowly, like if I went fast, the truth might blur and lose its shape. She told him she loved him. She told him she was tired of pretending. She told him she was almost free. That phrase lodged itself in my chest and refused to move. Almost free. I put the phone down and stared at the wall until the light shifted and the room felt unfamiliar. I thought about all the times she'd said she felt overwhelmed, trapped, all the nights she'd cried quietly in the bathroom, telling me it was just stress. I'd held her. I'd believed her. I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. I felt hollow, like someone had carefully scooped out everything solid and left me standing anyway. What hurt most wasn't even the affair. It was the planning. There were conversations about money, about timelines, about how once everything is settled, she'll finally be able to live honestly. Mark talked about apartments, cities, a life that sounded clean and uncomplicated. She talked about me like I was a chapter she'd already finished reading. I wasn't her husband in those messages. I was an obstacle. When she came home Sunday night, I was already in bed. She slid in beside me, cold from the drive, and pressed her back against my chest. I stayed still. She smelled like a hotel. Generic soap, too crisp to be familiar. My body reacted out of habit, an arm draping over her waist. I hated myself for it. The next morning, she made coffee like nothing had changed. I watched her pour milk into my cup without asking, the way she always did, because she knew exactly how I liked it. That knowledge felt cruel now. "Your mom okay?" I asked, forcing the words out. She didn't look up. "Yeah, she's tired. You know how she gets." I nodded, sipped the coffee. It tasted wrong. That's when I decided not to confront her. Not yet. I needed to know everything. Over the next few weeks, I became someone I barely recognized. I memorized her schedule, took note of the days she was away, cross-referenced them with the messages. The lies lined up too neatly to be accidental. I copied messages, took photos of the screen. I learned Mark's last name, his job, his address. He lived 3 hours away, married once, divorced, no kids. I wondered if he knew about me at first, or if I'd been a footnote in their story, something he learned about and accepted because it was convenient. Sometimes, Anna would catch me watching her. She'd smile, a little uncertain, and ask if everything was okay. I'd say yes, always yes, because the truth was, I wasn't ready to let go of the life I thought I had, not until I understood how it had been taken from me. The breaking point came on a rainy Wednesday evening. She was in the shower. Her regular phone buzzed on the nightstand. I didn't touch it. I didn't need to. The second phone buzzed too, from the drawer. Same vibration, same name. Mark. Soon. I promise. I sat on the edge of the bed, rain tapping against the window, and felt something inside me finally settle. Not anger, resolve. If she was planning to erase me quietly, then I would make sure the truth couldn't be whispered away. I just had to wait for the right moment. Waiting is a strange kind of power. Once I stopped pretending that I was confused, once the truth settled into its final shape, I found a stillness I hadn't felt in years. Every movement became deliberate, every word measured. I wasn't spying anymore. I was preparing. Anna noticed the change before she understood it. She asked if I was okay more often, asked if I was tired, if work was stressing me out. I told her the truth, carefully edited. "I'm just thinking about the future," I said one night, rinsing dishes side by side at the sink. She froze for half a second. It was barely perceptible, but I caught it. I caught everything now. "Me too," she said, a little too quickly. I began organizing our documents, bank statements, insurance papers, the house deed. Not in secret, right there at the dining table. When she asked what I was doing, I told her I wanted to be responsible, prepared. She smiled, relieved, misunderstanding the reason entirely. At night, when she fell asleep, I reread the messages I'd saved, not out of pain, but clarity. I needed to remember exactly who she was when she thought I wasn't looking. They had a date set, 3 months out. That was when she planned to have the conversation. Her words. She told Mark she didn't want to blindside me, that she wanted to be kind. I laughed quietly the first time I read that, covered my mouth so the sound wouldn't wake her. Kindness, apparently, meant rehearsing my replacement before handing me the script. The moment I chose came sooner than expected. Her mother was admitted to the hospital for observation. Nothing serious, but enough to justify a visit. Anna told me she'd be staying overnight. She packed carefully, folding clothes instead of stuffing them into a bag. She didn't kiss me goodbye this time, just touched my shoulder, like you do with someone you don't want to wake. That night, I drove. I didn't follow her. I already knew where she'd be. I'd seen the address. I parked across the street from the hotel just after midnight, the engine idling, rain streaking the windshield like tears I wasn't going to shed. I didn't go inside. I didn't need to see them together. Some images are better left imagined. Instead, I sat there and waited until her car pulled into the lot, watched her step out, hair down, coat unbuttoned, looking lighter than she had in months. She didn't look like a woman sneaking around. She looked like a woman coming home. I took one photo, just one, not of them, of her car in the lot, the timestamp glowing in the corner. That was enough. The next morning, she texted me from her mother's house, complaining about the uncomfortable guest bed. I replied with a heart emoji. My hands were steady. I didn't confront her when she came home. I helped her with her bags, asked about her mom, made dinner. We ate together, the clink of forks loud in the quiet. Then I asked casually, "Do you ever feel like we're lying to each other?" She looked up sharply. "What do you mean?" "I don't know. Just sometimes it feels like there are things we're afraid to say." She studied my face, searching for something. When she didn't find it, she relaxed. "I think all couples feel that way sometimes. It doesn't mean anything's wrong." I nodded, let it go. The truth was, I wasn't trying to trap her. I was giving her space to tell the truth on her own. Some part of me still hoped she would. She didn't. The day I finally spoke was unremarkable. That's what surprises me most. No thunder, no dramatic music, just a Tuesday evening, leftovers reheated in mismatched containers. I waited until she sat down across from me. "I know about Mark," I said. The words landed between us and stayed there. Her face went blank, not shocked, not angry, empty, like someone had turned off a light. "How?" she asked quietly. I told her everything. The phone, the messages, the years. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't insult her. I just spoke. steadily, as if reading from a report. When I finished, she covered her face with her hands. I was going to tell you. I just didn't know how. That's not true, I said. You knew how. You just didn't want to yet. She cried then. Not loudly, not dramatically. The way people cry when they've run out of excuses. I didn't want to hurt you, she said. I thought about all the nights I'd lain awake wondering what I'd done wrong, about the way she'd practiced being happy somewhere else while letting me hold the leftovers of her attention. You already did, I said. You just wanted to do it quietly. She looked up at me, eyes red. What are you going to do? I took a breath, felt the weight of the moment settle into my bones. I'm going to tell the truth, and I'm not going to carry this alone anymore. For the first time since I'd found the phone, I saw fear cross her face, not of losing me, of being seen. Telling the truth doesn't happen all at once. It unfolds in rooms, in conversations, in the way people stop looking at you the same way they used to. I didn't call everyone. I didn't make announcements. I started with the people who mattered most, the ones who'd been part of our life, not just witnesses to it. Her sister came first. We met at a small cafe halfway between our houses, the kind with chipped mugs and a chalkboard menu that never changed. She smiled when she saw me, then noticed my expression and frowned. "What's wrong?" she asked, already bracing herself. I told her, simply, without commentary. She stared at her hands for a long moment. How long? Years. She closed her eyes. When she opened them, they were wet. I knew something was off, she said. I just didn't think. God, I'm sorry. I wasn't there for apologies. I was there for clarity. I'm not asking you to take sides, I said. I just don't want this to become a story that only she gets to tell. She nodded slowly. It won't. Word spreads even when you don't push it. Her sister called me that night. Her voice sounded smaller than I remembered. She said Anna had told her some things, that she was confused, that she wanted to hear my side. I told her the truth too. Not with bitterness, not with anger, just facts. When I hung up, I sat in the dark living room and felt the quiet settle around me. It wasn't lonely, it was clean. Anna moved out 2 weeks later. She packed while I was at work, left a note on the counter thanking me for being understanding. I folded it carefully and put it in a drawer with the phone I'd never turned on again. Mark didn't stay invisible for long. Someone from her family recognized his name. Someone else recognized his face from a photo that had circulated quietly, without captions or accusations. He called me once, left a voicemail. I didn't mean for it to go this far, he said. She told me you two were basically over. I deleted it without replying. There was nothing left to discuss. The consequences weren't explosive. They were steady, relentless, the way truth usually is. Friends asked fewer questions once they understood. Invitations shifted. Conversations grew careful around her. Not cruel, just changed. People don't know what to do with someone who's been unmasked. They don't punish, they distance. That hurt her more than anything else. I saw it the day we met to finalize paperwork. She looked tired, not heartbroken, just worn down, like someone who'd been holding her breath for too long and was finally realizing how much air she needed. I didn't think it would be like this, she said, staring at the table between us. Like what? Quiet, she said. I thought once everything was out, it would feel free. I considered that. Freedom usually comes after honesty, not before. She nodded, didn't argue. The house sold faster than I expected. We split things cleanly. No courtroom drama, no shouting matches, just signatures and silences. The last time I saw her, she stood in the doorway, keys in her hand, unsure where to look. I never meant to replace you, she said. I believed her, in a way. You didn't replace me, you just left. She flinched, like the words had finally landed. After she drove away, I walked through the empty rooms, touched the door frames, listened to my footsteps echo. It hurt, but not the way I'd feared. It hurt like a muscle that had been overworked and was finally allowed to rest. In the weeks that followed, people checked in on me, some awkwardly, some sincerely. I let them. I didn't rush to fill the silence. I learned how to sit in it. One evening, months later, I found myself back in the kitchen, standing where I'd first seen the phone. The counter had been replaced, the drawer fixed. Small repairs, finished slowly. I made coffee, let it cool, drank it anyway. For the first time in a long time, the ticking clock didn't bother me because I wasn't waiting anymore. Healing doesn't arrive all at once. It shows up quietly, in moments you almost miss, like realizing you slept through the night without waking up, or noticing that a song no longer hurts the way it used to. The first real sign came on an ordinary morning. I was brushing my teeth, half awake, staring at my own reflection. For months, I'd avoided my eyes. They looked older somehow, heavier. But that morning, I held my gaze a second longer than usual, and I didn't look broken. I downsized after the house sold. A smaller place, closer to work, fewer rooms, fewer echoes. The walls were bare at first, but I liked that. It felt honest. I cooked simple meals, took walks in the evenings, learned which windows caught the sunset best. People sometimes assume recovery means forgetting. It doesn't. I remembered everything, but the memories changed shape. They stopped ambushing me. They lined up instead, orderly, like books on a shelf I could choose when to open. I could acknowledge the good without letting it rewrite the ending. I ran into Anna once, almost a year later. It was at a grocery store, the kind of place where lives intersect accidentally. She looked different, not happier, not worse, just adjusted, like someone who'd accepted the weather instead of fighting it. We stood by the produce section, two people who used to share a life debating avocados. "Hi," she said. "Hi." An awkward pause. Then she smiled, small and careful. "I hope you're doing well." "I am," I said, and I meant it. She nodded, relief flickering across her face. Not because she wanted me back, but because she needed to know she hadn't destroyed me completely. We said goodbye, walked in opposite directions. I didn't look back. That night, I thought about something her mother had said to me months earlier, her voice trembling through the phone. "She raised her better than this," she'd whispered. I didn't correct her, because I don't believe people are defined by their worst choices. But I do believe those choices matter. What Anna did wasn't a moment of weakness. It was a pattern, a slow erosion of honesty, and I'd learned something important from surviving it. Love doesn't disappear suddenly. It leaks through omissions, through half-truths, through the decision to protect comfort over character. I'd spent years trusting without verifying, believing that loyalty was something you declared once and never revisited. Now I understood that trust isn't blind, it's attentive. It listens when something feels off. It asks questions even when the answers might hurt. Most importantly, I learned that dignity doesn't come from winning or exposing someone. It comes from choosing not to become small just because someone else did. These days, my life is quieter, not empty, intentional. I've started seeing someone, slowly, carefully. We talk, really talk, about expectations, about fears, about what honesty actually costs. Sometimes I catch myself waiting for the other shoe to drop, but then I remind myself, awareness isn't paranoia, it's wisdom earned. Some nights, when the apartment is still and the city hums outside my window, I think back to that Sunday afternoon, the phone on the counter, the moment before everything changed. I used to wish I'd never picked it up. Now I'm grateful I did, because the truth, painful as it was, gave me something lies never could, my life back. If you were in my place, if you discovered the truth but knew it would shatter everything, would you have waited like I did, or confronted it right away? Tell me in the comments, and if this story resonated with you, consider subscribing or supporting the channel. Sometimes the quiet stories are the ones that save us.